My research is about the educational trajectories of Black queer youth as it relates to the broader topic of young people's transition to adulthood. What I do is I do a lot of interviews and focus groups with youth who identify as sex gender minorities, and I work with them to figure out ways that I can improve their access to post-secondary education. I'm really interested in developing more supports and guidance counseling in community-based organizations to promote sort of access to post-secondary education. The barriers to post-secondary access are multiple and they're complex, and sometimes they're intersecting. Some of those are similar to barriers that youth that are not from sort of a racialized and marginalized group would face. For example, just getting the amount of high school credits that you need to be able to access post-secondary education or colleges. But there are other issues or questions that are quite different. One of the main ones being gender identity and what happens when your gender on your birth certificate doesn't match the gender that you transition to, and how that plays into the ID and the whole application process in a university. So a lot of these barriers, if you put on top of that identity and gender identity and school records and discrimination, that's a lot. That's multiple barriers. We have to really consider moderating, scrapping and redoing, reimagining some of our access to post-secondary programs. As we know, this is the decade of people of African descent, and one of the reasons why the UN declared the decade is the disparities in academic outcomes for African, Caribbean, Black youth around the world. So my research program, I feel like, is addressing that. It's really designed to, at the end of the decade, to really be able to say that we have improved, that we have increased the number of Black youth who are attending post-secondary education, knowing that that is going to put them on a much surer footing to make a smoother transition to adulthood.